nothing makes anxiety more real, more palpable than inflation. We're on purpose raising our own inflation. The government's raising inflation on ourselves to slow our economy down, not because we like to slow economies down, but because inflation will literally burn an economy to the ground. And our mission is to be out communicating with homeowners about the dire situation the economy's in, the effect that will have on their home energy, also their transportation energy, because they're going to be plugging the electric car that the government is bound and determined that you're going to have very soon. In the next handful of years, you will be driving an electric car. And so the energy produced at your home is going to have a profound effect on your overall budget. Your home energy and transportation energy is going to be a huge portion of your monthly spend, much greater portion than it is today. Why? Because the cost of that's going to double or triple over the next 7 years. That's only if you're listening to our own government, the Department of Energy. They've issued a goal for the Inflation Reduction Act, which is to reduce our energy emissions, our carbon emissions from energy uses, in other words, fossil fuels, by 47%. And they have a two-pronged attack. One prong is the incentive. The incentive is 30%. It's been raised $400 billion, $400 in the bill. Guys, that money's not really for the homeowner. It's for us. If that money wasn't there, we'd all be beating ourselves up for a solar system that probably cost a little bit less. That incentive is from the government to us to put our blood, sweat, and tears into this business. World-class salesmen knocking on doors, sitting at kitchen tables, and signing customers up, not for educating them, signing them up. We educate them at the door to the dire consequences of not getting solar at the door. We show them the benefits and all of the massive energy, the massive wealth increase if they go solar. That's the education at the door. At the home, the service is signing the customer up. The government is the one incentivizing us to do that, to be selling solar instead of insurance, solar instead of any other product you can imagine, cars, whatever. So that's the government's incentive program, is to incentivize the business of solar. And let me tell you, the business of solar is ramping up. So I'm going to get into the training portion here in a minute, but there's some things on my mind I wanted to get out there. That's one. Here's the second one. Guys, I want you to start watching the news. Yeah, you can watch NFL. Yeah, you can watch basketball playoffs on Sunday, but why don't you tune in to Meet the Press? Why don't you tune into this Face the Nation this week with George Stephanopoulos? That's what the country's talking about. Hit some Fox News, see what's happening on the other side, and you're going to understand what is the topic of the country. And when you knock on a door, you're going to look past them and see over their shoulder, are they watching MSNBC or are they watching Fox News? And you're going to know a great deal about those people. And those people are going to have the most unbelievable variance in what they think happened on January 6th of 2020, but they're going to be on the exact same page about what's going on with regard to energy, inflation, the Green New Deal. The investment or the Inflation Reduction Act is really our Green New Deal, $400 billion. What I wanted to share about it is I'm watching the news, watching the politics shows, the people who are leading the conversation of the country, and I want you to know what they're talking about. They are talking about the fact that the $400 billion in the Inflation Reduction Act is probably off by a magnitude of 3. Does that mean they're only going to spend $100 billion on solar instead of $400 billion? No. They're taking the temperature of the money moving into solar, driving solar projects, the amount of solar money coming in, the big businesses that are coming in, Google, Facebook. Facebook has 9 gigawatts of solar construction in the pipeline. They'll be a net zero carbon emission company in just a handful of years, and they're going to utilize the money, that $400 billion. The government's starting to take stock of what that is. The bill doesn't say $400 billion in solar. It's estimated to be $400 billion in solar. In 6 months, they're coming up with new estimates, and those new estimates are $1.2 trillion. $1.2 trillion is the amount of money the government is expecting to hand out to people who go solar in the next 10 years. That's an amount of money that I could spend the next 2 hours on, and we wouldn't even scratch the surface at being able to comprehend how much money that is. Like, it's literally the budget of the entire known world except for the United States and China in a year. That's how much money we're expecting to spend. Where does that money come from? That money is going to come from, according to the bill, they got to get the money. Is anybody else watching the news? Has anybody heard that the credit card is maxed out? The $30 trillion United States, we just pass bills, we spend money, and we don't worry about if we have the money, we just put it on the credit card. That's called the annual deficit. And every year we we throw that deficit onto the credit card, and that's the national debt. National debt was 20 before COVID. After COVID, 30 trillion, credit cards maxed out. Watch Meet the Press, watch This Week, and you'll hear them talking about the hottest debate. It's a cat fight. Are we going to increase the limit on that credit card? Or are we going to finally start to have some fiscal constraint and not do that? That's a hot debate. But what that means is when they pass a bill that has $1.2 trillion in money in it, and by the way, you guys are the only ones who know that. You're on this call and you're hearing the truth. Why? Because I'm a politics guy and I'm watching politics. Everybody thinks there's $400 billion in this bill. There's not. It's 30% of what everybody and anybody spends on solar in the next 10 years. The new estimate is in $1.2 trillion. What does that mean? It means from the same bill, we need to raise $1.2 trillion. And they've already said it won't come by raising income taxes. They said taxes, but not income taxes. What does that really mean? Let me tell you what that really means. In the bill, in large part, that money is raised from rising taxes on fossil fuels and electric bills and natural gas bills and heating bills. In other words, home energy. The government has made a commitment to reduce our carbon emissions by 47%. That's Paris Climate Accord. That's an international, intergalactic treaty. Like, we have to do it. The government's bound and determined. Two-part strategy. One, incentivize. They're going to hand out $1 trillion. They're also going to collect $1 trillion. Who are they going to collect the $1 trillion from? The incentive is the carrot. Who they're going to collect the money from is the stick. They're going to collect the money from the people who stay on fossil fuels, the homeowners that don't go solar. And so Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, yeah, I got you down is not interested in solar. That doesn't have a goddamn thing to do with why I'm at your door. Why am I at your door? I'm here because of the new law. The new law says you're required to make a decision. That's why I'm here. I'm the guy that provides you with the information so that you can make the decision that's required in this new law. You can actively decide to pursue solar, implement solar, in which case you'll get a 30% tax credit. Now, what I'm talking about is your money that you guys have going up by $10, $20, or $30,000. I don't know that number, and I'm about to leave because this solar thing's on fire. I gotta go. I'm late for my next appointment. I just stopped by to give you my card. I gotta go now, but I could come back and find out. And what I'll be doing when I come back is how much of that $1 trillion is going directly to you. I'm gonna get that number. I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna show you what that number is. Doesn't it make sense to have that number? Yes, it does. Isn't not having that number and staying ignorant about the biggest spending bill in the history of ever and how it affects you and what are the numbers? It's directed at you, the homeowner. And you're either going to take the money, get the solar, and bring your electric bill down, make it constant, get out of the inflation business with regard to energy, or you're gonna get no money. You're gonna get no solar. Your electric bill's gonna double in the next 15 minutes, probably triple by the end of this decade. That's in 7 years. And you're gonna get blocked out of solar. You can't put solar on every home on this street. Won't fit. The infrastructure won't take it. And in my market, that's a certain number. We know what that number is. You can't add another solar system after you hit that cap, and that cap is very low. And so if you're not delivering that kind of information, that kind of urgency, then you're not providing a very good service. You need to start providing that service. We've been talking about that nonstop on the morning call and on this training, covered it last week. The reason I'm talking about it now is we were wrong. We thought they were gonna spend $400 billion. We thought they were gonna collect $400 billion. Turns out we were wrong. We've been spreading the wrong information. I've been telling homeowners for 8 years that the cost of kilowatt hours double every single 15 years. It's reasonable, wouldn't you agree, that it'll probably double in the next 15 years? I sold 1,200 solar systems by doing this. Yeah, you're here at 18 cents. 15 years ago, it was 9 cents. And 15 years ago before that, it was 5 cents. And 15 years before that, it was 2 cents. Look, it's doubling every 15 years for the last 60 years. It's reasonable to assume it's going to double again in the next 15 years. Guess what? I was wrong by such a crazy magnitude. Like, I should be tarred and feathered for spreading so much disinformation. It's not going to double in 15 years. It's going to double in the next 15 minutes. Every single utility in this country is trying to catch up to the fact that costs went up a long time ago. Their cost for everything, the cost for gasoline, the cost for everything went up. And we have not yet changed the price. You're seeing pricing come back on new kilowatt hour charges at utilities all over the country, and it's not 4%, it's not 12%, it's 25%, 38%, 60%, and that's just the first. Just like the interest rates went up 8 times, they're gonna raise the cost of kilowatt hours 8 times. But it takes about 18 months to work its way through the regulatory process. So, and now I found out in the last 6 months, I've been screaming at everybody about the fact that they're gonna collect $400 billion from the people who don't go solar. Well, guess what? I'm wrong again by a magnitude of 3. It's gonna be 3 times that number, $1.2 trillion. Warren Buffett says that the deregulation and the decentralization of ownership of power plants and the generation of power is the largest transformation of wealth in the history of mankind. This is the biggest thing that's ever happened. Why are we in solar and it generates an astonishing amount of money for the salesperson? Only one reason. The federal government needs world-class people to be landing on doorsteps and changing people's minds about the fact that they're not currently looking at a solar solution, change their mind, and be able to show up at their kitchen table, show them the numbers, and then perform the most valuable service of all, which is to get them to sign the paperwork today. Not 2 years from now, not 2 days from now, today. And so, welcome to this mastermind. This is a mastermind about making that happen. Maybe I should call myself a secret agent instead of a godfather of solar. This is the 1940s World War II spy outfit. We're all secret agents in the government's plan to get us off of fossil fuels and onto renewable, and at least in my market, renewable and green means solar. So that's what's going on. That's what's happening in the week.